Hello and welcome to Undrafted, a Dynasty game theory podcast brought to you by the Undroppables. I am your host, Scott Belanger, aka Jax Falcone. You can find me on Twitter at Dino Game Theory. This is episode number 229. Let's roll. We're in the swing of it, boys. We are in the swing of it. It is now just rinse, lather, repeat, whatever that whole thing goes, waivers on Tuesday, set your lineups, Thursday night, the whole thing. The whole week feels like a machine grinding us to a pulp, especially those of us creating content, trying to stay on top of all of our leagues, trying to stay on top of the pulse of what's going on and to bring some great content. Well, no way to do a better job of that than to bring on Mr. Danny Kelly from The Ringer. If you've been a listener and supporter of this show over the years, you know and love Danny Kelly. I am a big fan of Danny Kelly's personally, but of course also The Ringer, as my OG Bill Simmons started The Ringer many years ago. Absolutely love the show that Danny does on on YouTube everywhere, the fantasy football show with the boys, Craig and the other Danny. So unbelievable show. I love it. Welcome to the program again, Mr. Danny Kelly. DK, what's up, buddy?
Not much, man. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And yeah, it's just exciting to be back. It's exciting to have the season going again. And there's real data points to talk about and real playing time and real plays. It's awesome. I'm just happy to have football back. But you're right, man. It's during the season, things just go by so quickly. Every week it's just like bang, bang, bang. All of a sudden it's, Saturday, Sunday again, and it's just right back at it. So, but yeah, this is the fun time of year.
Yeah, it's fun. All off season, we get to say things with no accountability.
Totally. Yeah.
You know what I mean? This guy's going to be great. It's like, prove me wrong, bro.
Right.
But now we are proven right, proven wrong. Obviously we all get things right and wrong. We're going to talk about that. We're going to have a lot of fun talking about many of those things and maybe some of the things that are going right, going wrong that we either believe in or don't believe in. I think that's some of that. I think we kind of look at that a lot on the Dynasty Underground because it's very important to take action in Dynasty. Speaking of Dynasty, I was talking to you before the show. You're one of those guys that I gave you a lot of credit. I'm sort of a fanboy because of The Ringer, right? And so, I reach out, we get to know each other a little bit on Twitter. And, then it's like, you meet people and then you wonder, are they just a talking head or can they actually, and I mean this with all respect, Danny, or can they actually when the rubber meets the road, can they actually play Dynasty, And, I've, for better or worse, exposed a few people over the years, not publicly, just in my own mind. I'm like, that dude can't play. But I will tell you, you're a legitly awesome Dynasty player, and for that I am grateful. No, it's just fun. It's just true, man. Maybe it's just because you tend to team up with Scott Barrett. Is that what it is?
Well, that certainly helps in a lot. I'm in probably like 3 or 4 leagues with Scott, and for the most part, I think we have like 2 bad teams, and the rest of them are perennial fucking powerhouses. Not to like toot my own horn too much, but like we have a couple teams that are really, really good.
Got a couple wagons.
We got a couple teams that are like we need to do some work on, but I appreciate that. Yeah, I love Dynasty. I've been playing it, I think, since, I don't know, 2018 or something like that. Kind of, I guess, relatively new to it compared to some people in the industry. But, I absolutely love it. I love everything about the all year round, planning your team, trying to find value. I do all the draft stuff do a lot of the draft stuff for The Ringer. I do our draft guide for The Ringer. So that kind of marries into the whole process of drafting rookies and everything like that. I really enjoy talking to people, and you included, about like your model and everything that goes into that, and just kind of finding, the best ways to evaluate college players, which I think does change over the years. It's evolved over the years because of different like machinations in college football right now. And you have people who can transfer, and you have, the NIL and everything that kind of changes, I think, the dynamic a little bit in terms of how to look at players. And so, yeah, it's just really fun. I love everything about Dynasty. I like redraft too, but Dynasty is my true one.
there's redraft, there's dynasty, there's also DFS and best ball. DFS, I feel like, there's the computers, the solvers, the sort of there's a you're up against the machine in that realm, and if you're not going to be part of the machine, then you're just the meat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're just
Yep.
you're going through the meat grinder. You're not going to win unless you play super low stakes, and so it's just a little bit of a different game. DFS is super fun, but once the sort of computers and the nerds and the algorithms and the big money got behind DFS, it feels a little bit stacked deck. Maybe somewhat best ball too. I mean, you know, I like drafting, so I like best ball, but I haven't been
Yeah,
very
yeah.
good at it. Redraft is fun, but I always called that sort of arcade mode. And then, Dynasty is franchise mode. I still think Dynasty has a purity that, yeah, there's some leagues I've heard out there where they devolve very quickly. There are
Right,
leagues where there
right.
are guys playing in a sort of collusionary way where they're sort of helping each other win certain years. And I've heard all the stories, but not in the leagues I'm in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the leagues that I'm in, there's still a purity to them, if you will, that is mono, strategy, long term, the whole thing. It's just it lends itself very well to be a fun game that you can still enjoy with your homies, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I like the fact that Dynasty is still head to head week in and week
Yeah,
out. There are best ball Dynasty leagues now, but for the most part, you're setting your own lineups and having to
yeah,
make those agonizing decisions. Um, I personally like Dynasty trading more just
yeah,
because there's more stakes. It's like
yes,
this is forever. You know what I
yeah,
mean? This isn't like, oh, I'm going to trade you. You can take Saquon and I'll take whoever. Like, I just need a receiver. Like, this is forever. You have, like, you're giving up the future rights to one of the best players in the league.
right,
So that kind of stuff I enjoy. And yeah, it's just really fun. And then obviously, you're in a league year in and you're out with the same people, and you kind of see how people start to play and the strategies they take. And I'm in a few leagues now where you can see the cycles that teams go through. You know what I mean? Like, you
yes,
compete for a while. It's really hard to put all the pieces together and kind of find that championship formula for a year or two. But in a lot of cases, that runs out quickly because you
yeah.
have, guys aging out of the league or getting hurt, or it's just hard to like get it all to come together in 1 year. So I don't know. It's just really fun.
Danny, I've got a team. It's a 14 by 14. So
Mm-hmm.
14 teams, start 14, super deep, very,
Yeah.
very difficult to sort of. And I had a wagon there for a minute. I think I won 2 in a row. Either way, I was like really one of the biggest contenders, like 3 out of 4 years basically in a row. And this year, it's like it's kind of falling apart a little. It's
Yes.
just interesting, like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, this is not quite what and especially because of depth, right? Things can happen, whatever.
Yeah.
You need quarterbacks in a league like that. There's a ton of reasons I'm not going to get into on this particular show, but I'm watching. I'm like, this is Dynasty right here because now I've got a
It's like a
different
real
challenge.
team. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a different challenge this year than I had in the past. Like before, was how do I keep this together so that I can, hopefully win the friggin' thing. Is there a small move I need to make just to make sure that I'm, set for the playoffs, whatever the case. Now I'm like, I need to really look inward. I need to
Gonna,
really
like,
talk
do
to
I have to
myself.
sell all my like top assets here and start from scratch?
Yeah, I do.
It's hard to
Yeah.
go halfway. I
Yes.
feel like it's hard to, kind of play both sides in terms of being to rebuild or be a contender. It's hard to play the middle on that
Yeah.
because you end up just being in like seventh place. Um, but yeah, it's like having your own team for real. You have to manage the draft, you have to manage free agency in terms of the waivers, and you have to manage trades, and you have to make sure everything comes together and you have the right core of people in their prime at the right time. And yeah, it's really fun. Obviously, I think we're preaching to the choir right now,
Yeah, we are. And then one other thing, I'll just give you a little bit of an attaboy. One of the things that I love about you, it's basically you and Justin Boone. I swear to God, it's you two. Every time. The scraping
oh
of the
yeah,
bottom.
yeah. I talk to Justin about this all the time, man, because we're always bidding on the same, like, 38th player on the roster or whatever
Yes.
it is. It's like we're always bidding on that guy. He's got, man, he
But that
really
was that was Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt a moment
yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah,
He was a undrafted, in rookie drafts, and a lot of times either fifth round or undrafted. So, hey, that was the scrape. And
yeah.
right now you've got a RB2.
I like, so we play in leagues with different settings, and a lot of the leagues have taxi squads or like really deep long benches, and sometimes you have like a ton of guys on the IR. I don't understand why people. So I play in some leagues where people don't use the taxi squad,
I don't
and I'm
understand.
like that. You're just giving up an incredible amount of value there
It's
because
unbelievable.
I've got, I've found, Corey Krusky Merritt is a perfect example. It's just like stash a guy on your taxi squad and maybe he'll turn into something. He probably won't, but you're
Probably won't.
literally giving up nothing to do this. Like, just
Right.
put him on your taxi squad and see how it goes in a year or two. Plant those seeds and see if it turns into something. But
Yeah. It's sometimes you look at your taxi squad after like a full season, or sometimes actually I've got some right now that I look down. I'm like, boy, I could drop all 5 of these guys and no one would do anything about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like,
Same.
no
No.
one. Yeah.
There's some guy. I truly actually have some guys on my taxi squad who are not on teams right now. I'm
Of
like, I could
course, because you
probably
can't.
drop this guy, but
Yeah. Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
why? Again, it's the reason there's no value
there's
in
no
dropping them. I
rush,
mean, there's
right?
minimal, if any, value to keeping them, but certainly more than zero at
Right.
some exponential level. And fuck
Yep.
you, he's mine anyway. It's like some of that too. I think like,
Totally.
yeah, you can't have him. It's mine.
Yep.
But yeah, there is some of that. There's a hoarder mentality I think that you need to have in
Mm-hmm.
Dynasty that I think you have. Which I was looking for the right word. It was like conservatism, conservative, hoarder. Whatever that is.
Hoarder is, I think, the right way to put
I
it.
think
I'm like
so.
trying to hoard assets as much as I can.
Yes.
I'm personally just not a a player who's willy nilly with picks. A lot of people just will, draft their team and then trade all their picks during the
Yeah.
draft. And I understand that because then you're going to have a fucking wagon to start out. But I find it's more fun to play the long game. Obviously the goal is to win, so there's a fine line. But I find it more enjoyable to play the long game and be involved in every draft every year. And kind of build the team that way. There is, some value in, I'm not necessarily playing because I want to win the money every single year. I obviously want to win, but that's not like
Yeah.
the main reason. I enjoy like building rosters and building teams and doing trades and doing the draft and researching the draft and all that stuff. So there is other value to me in playing Dynasty of like trying to build that long-term success team, that actually will turn into a dynasty.
Well, I'll give you an example. We played each other this week in Dead Serious, which is a fairly serious Dynasty league. That's why
Dead
it's called.
serious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Dead Serious. I mean, it's pretty freaking serious. But I played you in that league, and you're gonna win this week. But I just want to give the listeners an idea of my team in that league. That team, I am basically like, it's funny because people would see how many picks I have and they say, "Oh, he's fully rebuild, he's tanking." And yes, I suppose that's true, but my team was frisky. It's not a complete dog. It's I was 9th in scoring last week, which is okay out of 12. I was okay. This week I put up a fight against you, but if you look at my team, I still have Rashi Rice and Jordan Addison and Chris
Waiting in the
Godwin
wings. Yeah.
plus 5 first round picks in 2026. Like, so while that
You have
team,
5 next year.
yeah, I have 5 first round picks.
Jesus.
But it's like, so that team is like, yeah, I guess my point is like, I'm in another league where I have like, dude, I have crazy picks. I have like 4 26s, 3 27s, 2
Oh, those
28s
are the
or
fun
whatever,
ones. Yeah.
and it was before the season had started, and I was collecting these picks and making transactions to get them all. And this guy texts me, goes, "Well, you're obviously rebuilding," and I'm like, "No, I'm not rebuilding. I'm not
I'm
rebuilding at
slow
all."
building. Yeah.
But I'm not, it's not. Maybe I will. Couldn't I just cash those all in as soon as if see, here's the thing: if I can maintain some level of competitiveness, if I can eke together,
Yeah.
if I can get to 2-4, 2-3, somewhere in there in 5 weeks, and there's a 1-5 team that's got no chance, and they've got, I don't know, Derrick Henry, and I can buy him for 2 seconds, or
Right.
a late first second swap where I'm all of a sudden like I can make moves that nobody else can really make. I've got the
Right.
capital to go get anybody, Jamar Chase even, or something where someone's like, I just need to reset my team, even
Totally.
with Jamar sucks or whatever. You name the scenario, I can attack it because I've got the capital, and then I still have future capital, and I still have this good team, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not like
It's not like you have nobody on this team either. You got Jaden Daniels, Jackson Smith-Jigba, Higgins, Tyler Warren, Fannin. I mean, you get in Prescott as another quarterback.
And
You got
then,
McCarthy and Dart.
yes,
I
I
mean, you're
feel
set
good.
up really well here.
Right. And so that sometimes is like, am I winning right now? No. Do I want to? Fuck, of course I do. And I was kind of hoping I
Right.
could like pull off a couple lucky wins here, especially against Danny Kelly. It's not going to happen this week, but like, so I'll end up being 0-2. And, maybe this is a rebuild year, potentially. It could be. But I mean, you can sneak into the playoffs and get funny. Certainly by next year, this team is going to turn it around. And yes, that's kind of the
Yeah.
goal.
To echo what you're saying, there's been a lot of leagues I've been in where I don't feel like my team is that good, and I kind of go into the year where I'm like, I'm going to just kind of feel out what's going on, how certain players. There's a lot of high variance players in fantasy, of course, and so
Yes.
like you kind of start to figure out like just how strong your team is. And there's been a handful of leagues over the last few years where I go in as like the sixth best team, and then I win the league. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because you make a
Right.
few key moves, and that's what I like to do in every league. Is like just kind of feel it out. I'm not going into any league where I'm truly thinking I'm just going to win 0 games this year. I don't really do that in these leagues. And
In your example, right? Like, so Fannin and Warren, what if they were doing what Loveland is doing? We love
totally,
all three of these
100%.
prospects.
Yeah,
We didn't know. We're not like, oh no, for sure. Nobody said, this was going to be the outcome.
right.
Nobody was like, we all understood there was variance to that. But in this case, now I have Fannin and Warren who are like doing stuff. Even Jatavian Sanders was like,
I know he had
you
like
know,
9 targets last week.
it's like, wait, if can this team start to win? With one move. I mean, gosh, the Rashi Rice one was actually the tough one on that team because it was
Yeah.
like I felt like with Rashi, starting the season, I would sort of flip flop with then getting Addison back and just sort of have, and then eventually get them
Totally.
both and off we
Totally.
go. But so it's just funny how it goes. But yeah, I think that's smart, and you know, it's probably not necessarily time to have a long conversation about dynasty strategy. I want to get into some of the meat and potatoes. So
Sure.
meat and potatoes right after this. Welcome back to the program. I'm here with Danny Kelly. DK, let's start at the top. I promised some meat and potatoes. What about Joe Burrow's big potato? Sounds like it's hurt.
Brutal.
And yeah, it sucks, right? I hate injuries no matter
Yeah.
what, even if you're a Ravens fan or some shit. You hate to see injuries to anybody. Certainly, we hate to see Joe Burrow go down again now. Last year, whatever, and the year before with the elbow, and he's missed
The
some time.
2-time comeback player of the year award winner, so that tells you
Right.
what you need to know.
Yeah.
Going for the trilogy. What is it? Not the trilogy. The
Yeah.
three-peat.
Yeah. Not good.
Yeah, it's brutal. Obviously, it hurts the entire team. It hurts our enjoyment watching the sport, in theory. I mean, obviously, they kind of got off to a slow start again, but, this offense, the Bengals offense, when Burrow and Higgins and Chase are all healthy, is one of the most fun to watch. So it obviously lowers the ceiling for all those guys. I will say Browning, like, in the past, has done a pretty decent job as far as backups go in terms of, like, keeping the fantasy hopes of people alive. It's not going to be as good. Jamar Chase is not going to win a Triple Crown probably this year, but he'll still be usable in fantasy. He'll still be, winning you weeks probably at certain times. So not all is lost. It is really unfortunate, but I'm not, incredibly distraught this morning because I think those guys still have a chance.
I mean, any sort of takeaways in Dynasty that, maybe action we're taking. I've been trying to think of this one. I mean, I don't have a big take. I do think that we learned that maybe that Cleveland Browns defense and defensive line is pretty good given
Yeah,
their
they are. Yeah, for sure.
week 1, week 2 performance against they're not necessarily that good on the back end apparently, but up front, man, legit. But that being said, I'm just wondering if there's action, we probably have to look at the splits. I did not yet look at like all the Browning splits. I saw some like off the cuff, but like ultimately I do think it's just basically just turn the volume down because even his splits are short samples,
right,
and they're not exactly perfect replicas because there was a different team, just different stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All that to say, I just think that, you probably look at Jamar Chase instead of being the wide receiver 1 overall for sure with a bullet, you probably just have him in tier 1 someplace. I'd have him ahead of Justin Jefferson for rest of season, obviously, right? Like still.
Yeah,
well
I mean,
ahead,
just
right?
based on the information we have right now, it's kind of looking a little bit bleak for the passing
Yeah.
game in Minnesota.
Right.
Even like way more than I thought. And I would
Me
say
too.
that one, I thought that McCarthy would hit the ground running a lot more than he did. Not necessarily like really sharp, but I did not expect him, I think, to look for 7 out of 8 quarters really, really bad. You know what I mean?
Bad.
I trust Kevin O'Connell. I think the scheme, is going to elevate any quarterback that plays there. Obviously, the skill players are going to elevate the quarterback. And so I thought there would be more. I thought we'd see more from McCarthy so
Yeah,
far.
me too. Don't you think a lot of it? I'm trying to not make excuses for McCarthy, but I did watch the 2 games, so I did see things, and some of the things I saw was the offensive line is a turnstile without
Yeah.
Darisaw and Kelly, and there was another guy they lost too. Like, so they're down to like their third string tackle.
Mm-hmm.
The center, look, we all know the center is the most underrated position in NFL football for sure. Coordinating things, and it all starts from there. If he can't do it, then you need to
Yeah, the
help in, and if you help
protections
in,
and things. Yeah.
the whole thing. So I do think there's an issue up front. He's also missing Jordan Addison.
Yep.
I mean, Hawkinson has not done much at all. It's kind of
Been
been
invisible. Yeah.
invisible is an understatement, right? I mean, that's crazy. I did not expect that, especially for a young quarterback. You'd think he'd take a bunch of easy sort of.
Right.
I'm a little shocked the way this is all working, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I think, yes, again, I expected a lot more to start
Yeah.
out. I think you're right, though. There are a lot of mitigating circumstances that would really, hurt a young quarterback in terms of. I think I saw that McCarthy has the highest pressure rate, or highest sack rate in the NFL so
Mm,
far.
yeah.
And obviously, part of that is on him because he needs to get rid of the ball more quickly.
Agree.
He was holding the ball a little bit too long, looked a
Yep.
little uncertain about what he was seeing, things like that. And that'll improve, I think. I think
Yep.
he'll get better as you go along, get more reps. But yeah, I mean, right now he's taking a ton of sacks. They can't run the football, and that's very hard for a young quarterback. It'd be hard for any quarterback. And we
Yep.
saw what happened to Sam Darnold last year as the offensive line disintegrated. Even
Yeah.
Darnold, who is a very experienced veteran, really kind of fell off the rails. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there's definitely excuses, or you could call them reasons that McCarthy isn't doing well.
Yeah.
But all that being said, it is disappointing. I'd say, outside that
Yes.
fourth quarter where he looked really good and the vibes were super high. Other than that, pretty much every other play he's had has been pretty rough.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
hopefully
there's
it
been
improves
pressure.
quickly.
I think the first half last week on the underground, which by the way, the underground, a little bit inspired by your show. Okay,
Hmm.
3-man booth, the whole thing. I'm not saying we're not copying you, but we're inspired by you. That's the best
No,
way to say it.
I
It's great.
appreciate that. Yeah.
It is. It's true. You guys have a camaraderie that we really love watching, and I think that's what people get with your show. And
Yeah.
we've been hearing that with our show as well, which is that there's a true likeness that we have for each other, and
Yeah. Yeah.
we care for one another, and that sort of comes through, even though we're brutalizing each other the entire time. So, yeah,
Totally.
is it ringing a bell there?
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
I'll hit the quick JJ McCarthy take I have because I've been a little bit of a JJ McCarthy defender, or excuse
Hmm.
me, a promoter. I'm
Hmm.
I'm I'm gonna try not to defend him. I'm gonna try and be Bayesian, but I am seeing the offensive line is terrible. The 25% pressure rate in the first half of Chicago, 15% in the second half, so it got better, and he got better.
Yeah.
I'd love to see those numbers this week too. I'm not sure what they were. They probably were high. I don't know what they were. But when I watch him too, even his sort of pocket presence, it's not bad. It's just not perfect.
Hmm.
There's so many times where you watch, obviously, a player like Brady. I'm only using him so you can see it in your mind. He'll move, he'll drop back, and then he'll move up, but to the perfect spot. Not too far up, not too far back, not too far anywhere, just to the perfect spot.
Feel.
And that's and he's got this spot where he can throw the football from. Whereas McCarthy, he had a ball taken out of his hand on a throw, and he's been affected by the pressure, even when it kind of doesn't get there or gets close. And that's on him, right?
Yep.
That's on the quarterback to be able to manage that. And I think he's smart enough and good enough to get there at some point, but it's going to have to get there a bit quicker if we want to play him in fantasy. At
Yep.
this point, he's an absolute no-go start until further notice.
Yeah, he had a 53% pressure rate against last week,
Yeah.
and a 43% pressure to sack rate.
Not good.
So, I mean, those numbers are atrocious. Obviously, I mean, you didn't need to you didn't need me to tell you that he looked bad in
Right.
this game, but
Right.
those numbers like are a non-starter. You have to get better at those, and that's kind of similar to what we saw happen with Caleb Williams last year, I think, where it was just too many sacks, too many drive killing sacks, and it's just really hard to dig yourself out of that hole once early on in the game you start getting into 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s, and then the defense can tee off on you because they know you're going to pass and you're one dimensional.
Yep.
It kind of snowballs on these young quarterbacks, and
Yep.
so I think that's like kind of what we saw. They couldn't run either, which is disconcerting because
That's it.
it's you need that kind of balance. You need that ability to kind of keep a defense on its heels.
Kind of reminded me of the difference between the Jets in week 1 and the Jets in week 2, where
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just, they couldn't get anything rolling on offense. I mean, running. So therefore the play action doesn't work. Now Justin Fields is dropping back. Now we're in a whole heap of problems because we're
Justin Fields'
down.
drop back passer has never been good. Yeah.
Right. And I think, to get some of these easy throws for McCarthy, a lot of those like sort of, fake jet sweep, bootleg, quick throw, this, that, and the other, misdirection, tight end in the flat type stuff that makes it a little bit easier for any quarterback. But certainly a young quarterback to sort of get, 7 yards here, 5 yards there and sort of move the football and get them some easy throws. We'll see if they can fix all that going forward. But until then, yikes. And the bigger issue, I think, because nobody had huge plans for JJ McCarthy going into the season, but we did have pretty big plans, not necessarily 101, but certainly the 1-2 turn plans for JJ Justin Jefferson. And those
Mm-hmm.
plans seem to be crashing hard against the rocks at this particular point. Are you worried long-term, meaning this season, the rest of the season for Justin Jefferson?
Yeah. So far, he's managed to kind of eke out a couple of decent games. But yeah, I mean, obviously, this offense, the ceiling is so much lower than it was
Yes.
last year. It is worrisome, and we don't even have Addison back yet. It's just not enough throws, not enough plays to go around right now. And I think their run rate, I didn't check this week, but their run rate from week 1 was much higher than in the last couple of years with Kevin O'Connell, where he's been pretty much a pass heavy type play caller. I think they're trying to slow it down and run. So yeah, I mean, I'm worried just the environment is not going to be conducive to like an elite finish for Justin Jefferson, even though everyone knows he's still one of the best receivers in the NFL. It's just the environment is changed.
Yeah, and you have to start him.
Right. It's tough. Yeah, because you have to start him, but there's going to be weeks where you're probably going to be pretty disappointed. It reminds me a little bit of like the AJ Brown conundrum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some weeks he'll go off because he's an elite player, and some weeks the offense just doesn't give him an opportunity to do that. So
this is an easy one here for Justin Jefferson. I think if you're a year away type of team, the team I just mentioned that I have that may be a year away, that's a team that can go out and trade for Justin Jefferson, a T Higgins plus a little bit, maybe, where the guy's like, oh, I'm getting T, at least I can start him. And plus I got a couple seconds or whatever the case, that's a play that you can make. You don't necessarily want to trade Ibuka for him. It's like,
right.
It doesn't really make any sense to, get Justin Jefferson when he's 27, 28. But you get my point. If you're a year away from competing, not necessarily a rebuilder, but a reloader, this would be a time to reload with Justin Jefferson because you can buy him pretty low, I would guess, in Dynasty. I mean, he's right now
as cheap as he's been in years. Right.
You get my point here. Like you send, Justin Jefferson to the Amon-Ra owner straight up. I don't think they're clicking that button right now.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
Right? Like if you're sitting on Amon-Ra and someone just sends you Justin Jefferson, you're like, dude, pass. Like,
right. Unless that team is like actually not, contending this year, I suppose. Then you're talking. But yeah,
right. Pretty interesting.
I mean, this is what makes fantasy. This makes Dynasty so fun and so interesting. And I always kind of talk. I know you love game theory too, so it's like,
yes.
It's so hard to get all your ducks in a row in one season because there's shit like this where even though Justin Jefferson is one of the most valuable players in all of Dynasty, top 5 or whatever, and skill players, top 3, even he is not completely reliable in any given year because they decided to go away from Sam Darnold and go to JJ McCarthy. And hell, maybe JJ McCarthy will come on strong, over the next couple of weeks and kind of
That's also
resurrect the offense and look more like that fourth quarter quarterback that we saw. But right now it's looking a little bit bleak, I would
It's
say.
hard to
Yeah.
believe in that, right? So yeah, I just find it interesting. I think there's probably some ways to get creative around trading for Justin Jefferson is all I'm going to say. I think that's a smart one to go for
Yeah.
because he is not getting any worse. He's awesome. He's just in a tough situation, especially week 1 and 2. And you're right. There is a possibility with a trade like that actually Justin Jefferson outscores whomever for the rest of the season because of course he can. You know what I mean? Of course that's in the realm
He's
of
Justin
possibility.
Jefferson. Yeah. Like he's
Right.
caught more passes than anyone ever, like according to how far he's been in the league. So
Exactly.
yeah, but it is this. It's a tough situation, and I'm hopeful that McCarthy will get better. I have him in a couple leagues, and I before the season was pretty, feeling good about everything. In the preseason, it was very small sample size, of course, and this is kind of why this is the mistake you can make. But I thought he looked really sharp and really confident and decisive. And then you get into the regular season, and of course, it's much harder, and he does not look decisive or confident. So, maybe that'll change and hopefully in the next couple of weeks. But right now, obviously, it's not looking good.
Well, they got to fix the pressure, and then we'll go from there. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. I have this. We'll get to it later. I made a list of some of the just dominant wide receivers that put up. That was the week, right? It was like this week. It was like, oh my god, CeeDee Lamb, Puka, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Amon-Ra.
Yeah.
And one of the guys you throw in that statement is my boy Trav, Mrs. Adunze's son. Rome Odunze.
Yeah.
Rome went off. Rome now sort of asserting himself in games 1 and 2 as an alpha predator potentially. I mean, we could certainly start to say that with some level of confidence. I had mentioned this last week on the show. I said we may not. This was before this game, and maybe we still do. I said I don't know if we have a Rome Odunze problem. We might have a Caleb Williams problem. Do you think that Rome Odunze has a Caleb Williams problem, and that by and large we all kind of anybody who's rostering Caleb Williams has a Caleb Williams problem, as well as Chicago having a Caleb? Is there a Caleb Williams problem? Is what I'm asking.
I mean, yes, there is. It's so hard because I think with Caleb Williams, and again, like development is never linear. I always try to remember this and give some players a certain amount of like leeway because there's a million moving parts when you're trying to play quarterback. I will say he's looked pretty rough to start the season. Obviously, like the throwaways the missed throws in week 1 were especially egregious, and I think that raises the alarm factor with him in terms of like these are some alarming throws, and we saw this a lot last year. This is something that I was hoping would get cleaned up. I didn't really see it a ton in college. I thought he was pretty accurate in college. Not the most accurate quarterback of all time, but he wasn't doing this. I don't remember it anyway, where he's like missing guys who are open downfield by like 10 yards, like throwing it way over their head consistently. And that is happening. And that is alarming to me. But I will say, just to give him a little bit of credit, the sack rate has dropped dramatically, I believe, or at least he's not taking the amount and the most concerning types of sacks, getting rid of the ball more quickly. Oh wow, I just saw JJ McCarthy injured, ankle sprain, not expected to be long term. Carson Wentz is the starter. Also, Jaden Daniels is injured. I don't know.
I saw the Jaden Daniels one.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I wonder if it's an ankle sprain.
Get him right. Who they playing this week?
What I
mean? But yeah, let's see who they got. Vikings have the Bengals. This would be a get right game for him. So I don't know. But yeah, so what was I saying about Caleb Williams? I think there are a few reasons to be like encouraged a little bit relative to last year. Obviously not relative to our expectations when he came into the league as the top overall pick. That I think he's still falling well short of the bar, but like relative to last year where he was an abject disaster for the most part, I see some reasons to be optimistic that things are getting back. I also he's the type of player for me, and I'm, you can maybe use this against me in your leagues or whatever if you want, but I am still so I'm willing to give players like him more leeway because of the physical talent and the physical tools that he has, where the ceiling is still so high. You still see him make some incredible throws, and the way that he can, he's been really elusive in the pocket this year so far in terms of rushing and scrambling and getting out. From a fantasy point of view, I'm still like optimistic about him more like I'd say more optimistic than not. However, I can totally understand, and I think it's completely right that he has not even remotely reached, I think, what people thought he would be coming out of college.
I think, yeah, well said. You know what's interesting? I think the microscope is so focused on him that
well, he has a polarizing personality. You know what I mean? It's like
yep.
some people just think and my dad always tells me this. It's like, oh yeah, he's just his body language fucking sucks, and he's moping about, and he's on the sideline complaining. And I totally get like that. There is something to that.
Yeah.
And I think he's done a little bit better this year. He's still got some bad body language, but last year
there's definitely some weird subtextual hate for him that I don't actually quite get. I mean, it feels 100%. Like it's not analytical. Hashtag not analytics.
Hashtag vibes. People just people just don't like him.
People are really upset about the painted finger. That is like a bridge too far. I mean, for many
can't have our quarterback painting his nails. He's not an alpha male, It's
not alpha, apparently. I think it's obviously peculiar, but I don't. There's no judgment. I'm just like, all right, that's kind of weird. Maybe that makes him better. I don't like. What if he was crazy and cool? Like if Lamar painted his fingernails orange tomorrow, I'd be like, yes, let's go. Like he's crazy, But I don't know. What's the problem?
You watch players walk into the game, and there's some styles there that I just would never even think to try. Yes. I could not pull off any of this stuff, is what I'm saying. I'm an old white man, and I'm not going to be able to pull off any of these styles. So it's like it does feel like,
right. We've zeroed in on
we've zeroed in on Caleb Williams for some reason. I think it's mainly personality wise. He's not like, I don't know. He's not. He doesn't have a great personality from what I've seen. You know what I mean? Like in terms of his outward, how he presents himself. I understand why people don't like him.
Yeah, exactly.
But
while we're on vibes, real quick, 2 questions. Number 1, is it time for Trevor Lawrence to cut his hair?
This is what my co-host Danny Heifetz keeps saying. He thinks that we need a vibe shift. We need to make a change. Cut off the hair. There's things are not better right now with Liam Cohen. Like things are.
Dude, if he had some sort of like military high top fade tomorrow,
dude, like, high top, that would be so great.
Like what? Because he has enough hair, or
even a mullet. I'll take a mullet.
Oh, dude,
it's like a Florida mullet. Why not?
Bro, he's got a lot of things he can do because he's got it all ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, bless him, bless his heart. He still has hair, unlike me, and so like I would be doing all kinds of weird shit with that if I still had all my hair.
I think he needs a new hairstyle. I just think, hey, at least try it. Who knows what it could do. Number 2, and this is hopefully you did. Did you see the drip on Efton Chism the third as he approached?
He had a Ray Allen T-shirt on. Near and dear to my heart. He's a Washington kid. He went to Eastern Washington. I don't know if he's from Washington or not. I can't remember. Where is he from?
Right in the footsteps of the Lunch Pail King.
Yeah. He's from Kirkland. There we go. Outside Seattle.
Yeah.
Efton Chism. My lord, what a name.
Yes. And did you see the jean shorts?
Jean short. He's got a stocky body type. He's like, and now that I'm looking at it, he's like 5'10", 200. I'm like, this dude looks like he's just rocked up. He's ready to go. Eastern Washington, country strong.
So
and
good, right?
He's rocking the Ray Allen T-shirt, the old school Ray Allen T-shirt.
He's going to be on the field before too long, pal. You can't
why is he still inactive? Come on,
right?
Don't they want to win? Don't they want to win games?
I mean, I was surprised as any because I was checking his MVP odds early in the season just to see like what.
Because you're a Pats guy, right? You're a Pats fan.
Yeah, but this is like where you and I concentric circles meet. This is our boy.
Yeah. I will say, looks like the Pats are kind of moving away from Demario Douglas a little bit. He didn't play as many snaps in this last game, and his first game we had like negative yards and a touchdown. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't remember exactly how that worked out, but he had one of the most bizarre stat lines.
Yeah, they got like 5 targets, 2 catches, negative 1 yard, and a touchdown or something. It was like,
so maybe that is his opening. Maybe there's a window there, but I think it's like, why is Mac Hollins still getting major snaps and things like? I think this is one of those things where a team is trying to sort of
find themselves.
They're walking a fine line between developing young players and getting young talented players on the field and also protecting their quarterback by having veterans out there who are going to be in the right spot. They're not going to give you as much of, I think, an upside. And that's why I like a guy like Matt Collins. He's just out there because he knows he's going to be where he's supposed to be.
Blocker.
He's been out there a bunch. And so that's like why we're not seeing Travion Henderson playing a lot. I mean, he's like blowing blocks in the backfield. He had a couple of penalties in this last game. And you see old school coaches like Vrabel do this, I'm sure, all the time, where it's just like, man, do your job, be in the right place.
Yeah.
So this is the type of thing you have to have patience with.
This is the ultimate buy low on Travion Henderson.
Oh, I totally agree. I think you absolutely go buy low. Well, are you a Travion head? You like him, right?
Yeah. But here, of course, because he catches passes, right? So he's a running back who's good, who catches passes. That's all I need to know. I'm not like, I don't know. I don't think he's like some special player. I always felt like he could do the Jahmyr Gibbs thing without having quite the Jahmyr Gibbs.
He doesn't have the juice, I don't think, or
not.
Elusiveness. He doesn't have the elusiveness of Jahmyr Gibbs, but I think he has straight line juice. He's got a lot of speed and explosiveness, and
he's not Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's
in that spectrum somewhere. Yes. Yeah. So I would absolutely be buying low on Travion.
Yes.
I think it makes sense, and I understand why Vrabel is leaning a little bit veteran heavy, because you got to. His number one goal is to develop the quarterback.
Yes.
And obviously, I guess the number one goal would be to win, but like it's most important to be giving his quarterback the best chance to win. And right now, I think that's just having some veteran savviness out there. I mean, and Ramondre, look, I almost gave up on Ramondre. I was kind of out on Ramondre last week, and this week I'm back in. Yeah. I just think he's a good player. I don't think he's a superstar, of course. I don't think he's even a star, but he's a good, solid player who can break tackles. He's good in the passing game. And so if he doesn't,
Antonio Gibson's a good solid player too.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I mean,
they have two solid backs. I mean, it's not like, why are they not playing Travion? I understand it. Ramondre played great in this game. So anyway, but buy low on Travion. We talked about Caleb. I want to go to another panic.
Yeah.
I'm going to preface it this. We're going to have a conversation. You mentioned something that we do at the Undroppables that I think, with the help of Jay Wood, who is FF Coder, who's my boy, helped basically built the UN wide receiver model.
Mm-hmm.
I will say Troy Franklin, maybe,
maybe,
he was the only player of his ilk. Like, he's the highest ranked player in that model who hasn't actually hit. Like, everything else above him is hit.
Right. Where did he go? Was he a fourth round?
Yeah, like the first pick of the fourth round.
I remember looking at that, and I liked Troy Franklin coming out. I was high on him, and I thought, and I remember looking at your guys' rankings, and I was like, this one might not pay off just because of how low he got drafted, but maybe there's something there. And I think, the way, if you looked at this last week in particular and wanted to put a trend line next to it,
yes,
you could do that, I think.
Yes.
My big worry, because like he led the team in snaps. He's leading the team in target rate. Cortland Sutton got rotated out after they gave him a $92 million contract with Pat Bryant. But this is, so obviously what I'm saying is Troy Franklin feels like he's ascending. He's looked pretty good. He's leading the team in receiving through 2 weeks. And that trend line is good. And also he played with Bo Nix in college. So there's that automatic sort of like connection there. He did, right?
Yes. They were
together at the same time. Yeah.
Yes.
So
locker room narrative.
There's a lot of the shower narrative here. There's
a
lot happening here. My only like hesitation is I just hate Sean Payton. Like, not really, but
I know what you mean.
It's been a long time bit for me where Sean Payton, good real life coach, the most fucking annoying fantasy coach.
Yes.
For the last couple of years, because I mean, the perfect example, and we're seeing this in more than one team, but like RJ Harvey, they picked him in the second round. He's playing like 30% of the snaps. And so, and you got Marvin Mims in the mix. Like, my whole thing is like, I don't want to be beholden to the whims of Sean Payton week in and week out. Right now, it feels like Troy Franklin is the promised one. He's the favorite son. And maybe next week, Pat Bryant is going to be replacing him. And maybe next week, Troy Franklin will play 30% of the snaps because that's how Sean Payton feels. I just think it's like so annoying how he rotates his receivers. Like, I can't believe they would give Cortland Sutton a $92 million deal and then he wouldn't be playing the most snaps. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe he's hurt or something. He was not on the reports.
Right. But it doesn't make a lot of sense. I agree. But
I like Troy Franklin. I think he's on the rise. To me, I'm excited because I have some Troy Franklin bags.
me
And I'm
too.
like, hell yeah, let's do this. But my history of not trusting Sean Payton in the past has like been pretty strong, and I just am worried this is just a blip on the radar for some reason, and Sean Payton's going to be annoying.
It could be. I've said it all along. Even when I sort of believed in Troy Franklin and thought maybe we'd see a year or two breakout, I was never like, for sure, book it. Even right now, for sure, there's an opportunity for this to sort of become more of a rotation with Trent Sherfield and Pat Bryant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Sure.
Marvin Mims and all of them. So, but if we do look at routes run, he is second, after 2 games behind Cortland Sutton. But look, he's the only wide receiver, basically the only player over 1.00 in yards per out run. Actually, Pat Bryant at 1.80 on minimal targets, minimal routes, only 10 routes. But no wide receiver. So Cortland Sutton, 1.00 yards per route run. Marvin Mims, 0.90. Evan Engram, 0.92. Trent Sherfield, 0.24 yards per route run. Wow. So not very good. Troy Franklin, 2.38 yards per route run.
Yep.
That's a real number. That's 2 weeks. I know. It's only 2 weeks. But we're gonna have we're gonna do trend spotting on the underground this week, and we're looking at you try to figure these things out. We had a big argument last week about Harold Fannin, whether or not that's real or not, and you have to take a stand as to whether or not you think something's real or not, and pick a side. Yeah,
Also,
this is I think it's real.
I totally agree with that, and I think also the word "real" is
Yeah.
relative because like next week he might have 3 targets, and the week after that he
Totally.
might have 8. And
Right.
you know what? It's not going to be a straight line up
Bingo.
for every player. And so,
Right.
and I agree with you on Fannin. Like I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on Fannin because I spent a lot of fab on him in my redraft leagues. And I'm still pretty excited about what he can be as like their de facto number 3 receiver. But yeah, I mean, Troy Franklin, I think he's on the right track. The background makes a lot of sense. I liked him a lot as a prospect. We were excited about him coming into the league. And right now he is clear cut their number 1 receiver. Obviously Cortland Sutton, I think, is going to close that gap.
Yeah, for sure.
The year goes along. But
sure.
Right now he has, almost double the receptions of Cortland Sutton through 2 weeks. So
yeah,
there's something there.
And ultimately, just like you pointed out, like AJ Brown had 1 target in week 1. It's not always going to be like
Don't just panic sell. Yeah,
right. It's not like, oh, he's bad. Like Troy Frank can go out and have, like you say, 2-3 targets, and it doesn't mean everything. This doesn't mean everything. It means something though. Production matters, and they've got it. When it comes to Harold Fannin, I think there's a potential cap on ceiling just because of Njoku's presence. Maybe,
right.
Like you say, he's the de facto 3rd wide receiver too. He's a sort of slot receiver, which I think is where we started to look at it and get excited. Was he played a ton out of the slot? Njoku played some out of the slot after 2 weeks. I'll actually look at it. Let's look at that together. Why don't we? Because I do think it's somewhat real. He basically had 65% route participation 2 games straight, right? So he's involved about the same exact amount in 2 straight weeks. Which I think that's great. He had 9 targets, then 5 targets. Hey, that's good.
Yeah, I think it's a little. I think it's fragile because I think if they bench Joe Flacco, that hurts because Flacco throughout the time with the Browns has targeted the tight ends. He's always dumping the ball off. They throw the ball a ton when he's playing. They have a lot of plays, and there's those variables kind of match up for a good year for Fannin. But I mean, if they decide to bench Flacco for whatever reason and go with the rookie Dylan Gabriel or Shadur or whoever, then I think the bottom kind of falls out for both of these guys. But I mean, right now I think you can play both Fannin and Njoku. This is one of those rare cases where both guys are going to be a big part of the offense, and I think there's you could quibble about Fannin's overall usage because of he's not playing in 11 personnel as much as Njoku and things like that, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think I looked at this morning. He's like 8th in the league in routes. So at tight end. So, he's running a lot of routes. That's the end of the day. He's running a lot of routes. And that's kind of what you're looking for a, second or third tier tight end.
Yeah, and out of the top four, Tillman, Judy, Joku, Fannin, which are basically their top four targets on the team, he leads all of those after 2 weeks in yards per route run. So he's still the most efficient player out of those four, almost doubled up in Joku. He's at 1.73 and Joku at 0.96. So he's been more effective. How long does that last? He's also been the most effective in terms of quarterback rating when targeted. He's the other than Dylan Sampson, who, by the way, is running away with this at 3.08 yards per route run.
Get a big week one, yeah.
Yeah, get him out of the equation. He also, Fannin leads the entire team in quarterback rating when targeted. So, exactly. Dylan Sampson with another 3 targets, though. He had 8. He's 11 for 11 targets, 11 catches. So, God bless him. He's converting. Yeah, he might be okay. But let's move along. You got anything more on Fannin? I just think Fannin is good. If you wanted to hear my take, I just think he's good, and you're playing for ceiling, especially in Dynasty. I think the ceiling is for sure there. But even in redraft, here's a guy in Fannin who, when you look at it, they could see they appear to see him as a multifaceted tool that can create mismatches depending upon what the defense says. They're willing to put him in the backfield. They're willing to call running plays for him. Screen game. There's just so many different ways to deploy Fannin that almost like he becomes a bit game script dependent or independent, right? He's because hey, no matter what's going on, we can kind of find a way to use your skill set. So I think that's kind of the way I see him to some degree. Obviously, he's still playing behind those other 3 lead receivers, but still outperforming them on a per target basis. So
yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Well, where there's good in Troy Franklin, there's fear for Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden, not a UN score darling, but not bad either. I mean, we don't hate him. We just thought he was a 50-50 proposition, which made him feel like a second round pick in our rookie drafts. Happy to push the button on him in the second round as a rookie pick. Obviously clear upside in terms of opportunity and physical abilities. The downside was always and still is target earning. Guess what we're having a tough time with here thus far in Green Bay? Target earning. So I'm not so sure about Matthew Golden. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a disconcerting start. It's, I mean, the Packers are on a smaller scale in that Sean Payton annoying spectrum for me, like teams that I just kind of try to avoid for the most part because the coaches really believe in rotating players. And we were seeing that, through 2 games, Matthew Golden has played 54% of the snaps.
Yeah.
He has an 8.2% target rate, which is really low, obviously.
Yep. Exactly.
And, maybe and I think you have to be patient with a lot of players because, Golden, like in particular last year, it took him a minute to get going, but by the end of the year, he was the number 1 receiver on that Texas team. And I certainly think there's talent there for him to do that. But right now, you can't play him. It's looking like they're still wanting to rotate a bunch of guys, even with Jaden Reed out. Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if they still rotate. They put Malik Heath in there because LaFleur just wants to do that. And so, if you look at the last year, I think there was like Romeo Doubs played by far the most snaps, but then everybody else was like below 70% snaps or something like that.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. And so it's been a thing where they rotate. And then of course, Christian Watson's going to come back at some point. So it's, to me, it's the thesis with him was he's going to be playing 90% of the snaps like Romeo Doubs in all the 2 receiver sets. And that is not happening. And so maybe that will change. But right now, the theory on why Golden could have a breakout rookie year is just not panning out. I think it could change. I would hang on to him on your bench still in redraft. But just don't play him until they start playing him more. That's
actually, I would in many redrafts. It depends on what kind of redraft it is. I would say he's completely droppable in a lot of redrafts. Not every redraft, by the way, but some of these redrafts are like pretty shallow. I know a lot of people play in like
if you have like 4 bench spots.
Or no, even the starting lineup, like where it's like a 12-by-8 or something. Like some play with kicker defense, which makes it 10. You know what I mean? Right, so it's like 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, tight end, maybe 2 flex. Yeah. It's like, well, in that scenario, when are you I mean,
you're probably not wanting to play him in those.
yeah,
You're playing him, your team is bad.
Yeah, you're screwed anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
you really want to carry like my whole roster construction on redraft with teams like that is like, I want 4 or 5 or however many wide receivers, and then that can start. Like if you have 4, 2 wide receiver, 2 flex, I only need like 5 wide receiver because that's the max I can really play. I don't need backup wide receivers. Like when are you taking out CeeDee Lamb? You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
like you're just not. I think Matthew Golden's got a shot this week.
The matchup,
yeah, the matchups. Whereas at running back, the attrition and the matchups actually do matter. So just load up on backup running backs. I digress. By the way, Matthew Golden, lowest on the team. If we're talking about Tucker Kraft, Romeo Dubs, Matthew Golden, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed. Certainly of those 5, we'll just talk about those because those are your top, route runners. He's by far the lowest in terms of, target rate. Like he's got 4 targets on 36 routes. Maybe you have it a little bit different. Close enough. It's not good. And then, yards per route run. You look at just how efficient everybody is. This is going to hurt a lot for you, Matthew Golden supporters. Tucker Kraft is 3.04. We'll talk about him right in a moment. Romeo Dubs, 2.23. Wicks, 2.39. Jaden Reed, 3.21. Holy smokes, that's really good.
Yeah.
Matthew Golden, 0.44. He's like Trent Sherfield.
Not a number you want to see. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Matthew Golden, Trent Sherfield. They should just.
Isn't he wearing like number 22 or something ridiculous?
He was. I think he's wearing 0 now.
Oh, okay, good. Thank God.
Yeah.
That maybe was the problem. So yeah.
So yeah, 0. Ironically, that's also his box score. Hey now. Okay,
but yeah, I would caution patience with that. But yeah, it's obviously not. It's not what you want to see so far.
Yeah, I had moved Matthew Golden above Trey Harris in Dynasty because I was like, come on, how can I do this? It's like the 4th, receiver on the Chargers who playing behind Quentin Johnson, who's actually playing good. How can I have that ahead of the number 1 alpha in Green Bay? Turns out I was probably right to begin with. Maybe I'll flip flop them back and get Trey Harris above.
How often that happens? How often does that happen though? Like I feel like your original ranks always end up being kind of the closest to what they should be because you start to listen to other things and to input different, I think more narrative data points. And then you end up just kind of back where you were. I think that happens a lot for me, at least.
So I asked a question on Twitter, DK. You might have seen it after week 1. Kittle gets hurt. Loveland flops. Loveland flopped twice now, but Mark Andrews flopped. There wasn't much at the tight end position. Obviously Tyler Warren, Laporta, Bowers, and McBride. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, we don't have to have a conversation there. That's like there. And then I said, holy shit, is Harold Fannin the tight end 5 in Dynasty?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, because I was thinking, would I rather have Fannin over Loveland? Yeah, I think I would. Would I rather have Fannin over Kittle? It's like, I think so. Like, he's 20 years old and he looks pretty good. I think I would, So this question popped up and I felt funny even suggesting that Fannin would be the tight end 5 in Dynasty, but is it Tucker Kraft, the tight end 5 in Dynasty right now? I think that is the answer to the question. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would say so. He is real life good. I think we have established that at this point that he's a really good player. And now he's playing like 91% of the snaps. This is he is immune to the Matt LaFleurification of the offense so far. Obviously, I was a little worried about Musgrave coming into the year because he's getting healthy and they obviously picked him very high. But it doesn't seem like he's going to significantly impact things. He's just playing like 2 tight end sets. So yeah, I mean Tucker Kraft and obviously what we've seen so far, he looks awesome. But he's a really good player. 3rd year, I think, breakout for him. And he has an established role. So, and he's playing so many snaps because he's good in both the run game and the pass game. So he's got a little bit of like the Kittle to him.
Totally Kittle.
And he's less, I think, sensitive to game script and play style and coaching and all that stuff. So, I would probably like, I don't know, maybe I'm sticking to my priors a little bit here, but I probably still would put Loveland over Fannin just based on draft capital, but maybe that's stupid. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, but Fannin certainly has shot up the ranks. I mean, if we did rookie drafts now, like where would Fannin be going? Especially
second round pick,
tight
of
end
course.
premium.
Maybe
Yeah,
first round pick and tight end premium. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And you could get him in the third round, sometimes the fourth round of rookie drafts after the draft.
Yep.
So yeah, that looked like I wish I had him more, honestly. I don't know why I kind of like didn't go more aggressively after Fannin in all these rookie drafts.
Yeah, for those who got Harold Fannin late or in the late third round, fourth round, you should have an homage to the duck-footed gauntlet that he ran.
Yeah,
because that's what got it for you. As soon as he ran the duck-footed gauntlet, you were like, "This is my guy. I got to get him." So, yep. Yeah, I'm with you. But I think Kraft is easily tight end 5, and then it's Fannin, Loveland. Gosh, I mean Kittle.
Where are we at on Pitts? Are you back in on Pitts?
A little bit. You kind of have to be. He looks okay. He's young still, and
did you say Laporta too?
Yeah. Laporta's in top.
Laporta's in there.
Maybe even Kraft over Laporta.
That's like a spice. It's a little spicy, but I don't like hate it. Also, you know what I mean?
Right?
I think Laporta is always going to be probably a little frustrating because he's number 3 in that offense in theory. Whereas some of these other guys are like number 2 or number 1. And that's always kind of a nice edge. Like Trey McBride is the number 1 receiver for the Cardinals, essentially.
Yeah,
Tyler Warren looks like he's going to be at least the number 2 option in that passing game. And Brock Bowers obviously 1 or 2. So yeah, I think it's just you're splitting hairs a little bit. But Laporta to me is just he's a high floor but less ceiling right now. Kind of the way that team plays.
I think Bowers, McBride, Warren is 1, 2, 3 though. I think Warren you can place above Laporta now.
Warren is It's funny because people were upset about where he got picked. Going to the Colts, and I understand that, but there was so much uncertainty about the quarterback situation. I can understand the trepidation, but man, when he got picked by the Colts, I was like, nice. They're gonna Steichen is going to figure out ways to get the ball in his hand a lot. There's going to be a lot of design plays for him, screens, and I don't even think there's a lot of meat on the bone still with using him in the screen game. But he's drawing targets down the field. He is immediately. We have an expression on our show. It's just like I've seen enough, guys. I've seen enough. He's good.
I agree.
He's going to be a long-time pro.
Yep.
And you never got that really with Dalton Kincaid. You never got that with. I mean, Kyle Pitts, even when he had 1,000 yards as a rookie, I don't know if I was necessarily like, this guy's fucks. He's so good. I was just like, yeah, I mean, he had a lot of yards.
Yes.
He did what he was supposed to do, and then he completely fell off. He had a bunch of injuries. I do think he looks
looks way better.
Yeah. To tangent onto the Kyle Pitts thing here.
Yeah.
I do think he looks like a different guy this year.
Yes.
For better or for worse. Hopefully that will mean he gets back to closer to where we were expecting him to be, but he does look like he has more juice, more explosiveness. He's playing with more fire, because I think last year there was times where, man, he was just fucking jogging out there. And so,
or limping.
He was just, he looked like he was running in sand. And now he has a little more juice. So I'm excited about Pitts again. I'm not putting him in that tier yet, obviously, but, I'm trying to think of any other.
They played him a little bit more. He's up to 24% of his routes out wide. I want to see that number lower. He does not belong.
He's not a wide receiver. Yeah.
Yes, he's not. He was over 40%. He's now below 40% after this week in the slot. I think he should be basically 50%, 50% in the slot, 10% out wide, and the rest in line, 40% in line or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's that's the way he should be deployed. His ADOT is now at 5.2.
Okay.
Interesting.
It's better than it had been really high before, right?
Exactly. It was way too high. I'd like to see maybe 7 or 7 or 8, but
a little medium. Yeah.
Yeah. 5.2 better than 15.2 because he's not beating people down the field,
Yeah. That's like prayer yards, right? It's not going to be consistent.
Yeah.
Where do you land? This is just me throwing out questions. Where do you land on Jake Ferguson? He had a great game this last game, but was a little quiet the game before. I'm trying to figure out what to do with Jake Ferguson and how valuable he is in Dynasty.
Well,
he feels replaceable somehow.
He is replaceable. He is. We argued this on the Underground. Trav loved him. First of all, Trav won the tight end conversation with Jake Ferguson, especially Tucker Kraft. He was Tucker Kraft in all formats. That's a W. God bless him. But, in talking about Jake Ferguson, he's like that in that Dallas offense, da da da. And he's kind of right. We kind of felt like you were saying, Joe and I were taking the side that Jake Ferguson is, replaceable. I could just get Hunter Henry or Evan, or Zach Ertz, by the way, who's, golly.
Still out there, man.
Right, dude. Unbelievable.
Still doing it.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
2 touchdowns already.
It's unbelievable. He's so good. And so so he's something like that. I don't need to necessarily pay up, but then again, there's something to be said about just steady Eddie back end tight end one production every single week, all over, every week, all year. So I do think he has good value. I tend to want to swing for ceiling. That's why I would have definitely taken Tucker Kraft ahead. So wasn't everybody, but even myself, I would be favoring Jatavian Sanders over him just because it's or Theo Johnson, because it's if they hit, maybe they hit huge. If they bust out, I just have Zach Ertz or whatever. Cause I do have Zach Ertz on or Hunter Henry or someone like that on every team that I have. I have one of those dudes.
Super smart way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jake kind of feels like split in the middle, missionary sex, you know what I mean? Just sort of, you know what, we did it, but there's nothing, I got no chance at it. I'm not gonna have a threesome, this is good. I did get there, but not all the way. Hopefully the hashtag team sex, appreciate my joke, but we'll see, maybe not. But yeah, I think Jatavian, also if we jump to Jatavian, I think we can make a case for him as a top 12 dynasty tight end as well. Certainly in there around Kincaid and Ferguson, right?
The bottom falls out really quickly, and when you're doing the rankings of tight ends, and I think it's just then after you get through 8 or 10 or whatever, then it's you're going to your priors. I really like this guy in college.
Totally.
What I mean? I like this guy in college. I remember this one play he did, and therefore I'm putting him higher. You know what I mean? It's it goes down to whatever flavor you like. With a lot of these guys, and so and then but you mentioned it, then you have kind of the floor guys. I think the guys that you can depend on to give you a floor at tight end, and there's a bunch of there: Hunter Henry, Johnny Smith, Kelsey, now Goddard. Some of these guys are getting a little bit older.
Yes.
But yeah, I think Jatavian Sanders seems to have a good connection. They're giving him a lot more opportunities. I think he had 9 targets in this last game. A lot of that is dump off stuff, but that's going to be a part of their offense. You know what I mean? It's going to be part of their offense until further notice. And so, yeah, I definitely put him in that mix. I don't know if I have a strong attachment to Sanders, and they're still, I think, playing Tremble a little bit. So that kind of muddies it. But yeah, I think, he showed that he can definitely play that role of short and intermediate area guy that's pretty reliable.
Okay. Here's a question that I know the people are asking. They're asking it on Twitter. They're probably wishing we were asking it right now. So I'm going to ask it. I'm not qualified. To answer it. I can't answer it. So I've seen it asked to me on Twitter, but I can't answer it. Brian Thomas Jr. Maybe I think the answer, this is why I can't be asked, because my answer is Jacksonville should just trade Trevor Lawrence for Mac Jones. So that way they'd be all set. All right.
Yeah,
that would be the craziest trade of all time. But I tweeted, I said Brian Thomas Jr. is simply a figment of Mac Jones's imagination. That's all it is. That's who Brian Thomas Jr. The question though is, in Dynasty, what the hell do I do with Brian Thomas Jr., Danny Kelly?
Yeah. I think you hold, or you can view this as a buy low opportunity. I think you bet on talent here.
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm not the hugest Brian Thomas, tout or whatever. He's not a guy that I was really high on relative to anyone else. I was kind of just in that zone where the production is there. He's an incredible athlete, incredibly explosive. And then year one, he was very productive. So it all kind of matches up. Right now, I think is an opportunity to probably buy low or just hold. I would not panic sell with him. Because it's all these receivers, star receivers, they're also mercurial. And personality wise, it seems like he's kind of having a little bit of a George Pickensy, time right now where he's a little bit fighting with the quarterback. He's not really where he's supposed to be. And we're going to see this kind of stuff happen. But overall, I would say bet on talent with this guy.
Okay. So you're in your league. You got Brian Thomas Jr., right? You have him. There he is.
I don't actually have very much Brian Thomas Jr. in
I know, me
anything.
neither.
It's like
That's why I'm
weird.
unqualified. I don't have him.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what to do because I don't have him.
I'll try and pretend. Here we go.
Pretend.
Yeah.
Pretend. You've got Brian Thomas Jr. It's a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Ding, ding. Oh, I have a trade. Oh, my God. What's this? Look at this. It's a trade. I give up Brian Thomas Jr. I get Tet McMillan in 2 seconds.
Yes.
Smash
but I'm
it.
high on Tet.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
ding, ding. Different trade, different league. You get Zay Flowers and a second and Bashal Tootin.
Oh, Bashal. That's a curveball right there. 3 for 1 is tough to say no to. I think Flowers is a frustrating person to have.
How good was that trade up?
It's getting me close to like making me like want to hit that button. But I would probably keep Brian Thomas. I think like in my mind, I'm thinking I have a guy that could become a truly elite asset in fantasy in Brian Thomas. I don't think Zay Flowers is going to turn into that. I think Tootin has a chance to be productive, but he's probably not going to turn into a truly elite asset. So I would probably stick with Brian Thomas.
Okay, last one. You're sitting there. You're like, no, I'm keeping him. Someone else hits you. Bing, bing. Brian Thomas Jr. And you just press the button, and next thing you know, you have Ladd McConkey.
Oh, Ladd. Oh, Ladd. Just straight up for Ladd?
Yep, you can just turn him into Ladd, re-roll. You're fine. Don't worry. If you're panicking, just get on Ladd train. You're good. Don't worry about it. He hasn't.
I don't even mind that. I think I would do that because you're attached to a really good quarterback for the long term. And I don't know if I feel that way about Trevor Lawrence anymore.
They're in the same. Okay, this one's a tougher one. This one is the Jax Falcone trade that if someone did this to me, I'd have to like go in the tank. So ding, ding, here come. Oh my God, that's nice. I got a trade offer for Brian Thomas Jr. It's a Mecca Ibuka and a 2027 second.
I love Mecca. That's really hard. I probably would take that trade. This is coming in to bear or whatever to take it with a grain of salt. Like I wasn't like necessarily the huge Brian Thomas guy before, even though he had a great rookie season. So I think I don't have that bias where I think he's like a must hold. But that being said, like if you're going to trade him, like make sure you get a really, really good player.
My point here is I think despite where he's at, if you wanted to get off the Brian Thomas, train, I think there are ways without being like, oh yeah, I just got this stupid. I think there are real offers out there. I think there are people who would consider all of those types of trades for sure. Because none of them included a first round pick. Like none of them was like, some stupid overpay. Right. What about, here's a good one. This one you'll love. This one you're going to love. This is my favorite one. Are you ready?
Yeah. Let's have it.
Okay. You're an okay team. You're just a good team. Just a good team. Fine. You're probably going to make the playoffs.
Okay.
Probably. I think you're good. You could win the title. You have a shot.
You're in contention.
You're a contender. You're not a wagon, and you're not a shit team. You're probably going to make the playoffs. Almost surely. You give up Brian Thomas Jr. in your 2026 first for Puka Nacua. No, huh?
I love Puka, but he's a terrifying person to have.
So terrifying.
He has to peel himself off the turf every single game. It's just like for me, I love Puka. I already have him in a bunch of places. He's a hold. I'm not looking to buy Puka because he terrifies me in terms of like the way he plays and the injury situation.
Okay.
But
so you're probably not doing that. You're doing that from Malik Neighbors. But what about Brian Thomas Jr. and your entire 2026 draft, your first, second, third, and fourth for Malik Neighbors? Still pulling that, right? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Even and that's like as someone who doesn't really do that.
No, me neither.
I mean, like I never have sold my whole draft for anything.
No, me neither. I find a different way to.
I just want to be in the draft.
You're like wait, hold on, wait. Why do I have to do that? Can I just give you like Chris Godwin?
Right. But yes, I think there's a huge tier difference between Neighbors and Thomas for me.
Neighbors is God.
Yeah.
Neighbors is God tier now, especially given that Jamar Chase. I was quote tweeting myself all weekend that Malik Neighbors was wide receiver 1 overall, and then Jamar Chase would score an 80-yard touchdown. I'd be like, no, Jamar Chase is wide receiver 1 overall. It's like, no, I'm sorry. Malik Neighbors catch the game winner.
Neighbors.
Sort of.
Yeah.
20-second game. By the way, did you see the defense that the Giants ran with like 9 seconds left to go, and Dallas had the ball in their 30? Did you see this?
No, I missed it. I mean, I did see it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah.
So Dallas has the ball at their own 30. They need 20 yards to get to the 50, and then they can kick a 60-yard field goal with the fucking best leg in the world.
Right.
The Giants played like full like prevent the touchdown defense. Like they had guys like 2 or 3 safeties
like
well past the 50. They had all their corners at the 50. So they basically ceded the 50. They gave up the 50. So they just ran a play which was very easy to get to the 50. Guy falls down at like the 40. I was like, you just gave him the game. You just get like, why not just?
I never understand that ever. I never understand that.
Never.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like those guys never play that kind of coverage. You know what I mean? Like it's like something totally new and foreign feeling. It's like just put them in their comfort zone and rush the passer like a normal play.
Yes.
You're very unlikely to give up a bomb. Like, you know what? You might give up a bomb like downfield, but how often does that happen in a game?
Yes.
You know, it's like just trust your guys a little bit.
Well, and really, what are they like? I like to play that, press man. Like obviously deep safeties,
disrupt timing. Yeah.
Yes. Like just, obviously, you're not trying to stop the short pass. But you can still pressure them and then, make sure you're taking away something down. If they, curl at 5 yards, you're okay with that. You're not like afraid of a slant, like you understand, but like, I like getting the pressure there. And unbelievable. They just seed it. And then
I hate that so much.
What are you guys doing? It's crazy. Anyway. So, okay, so you answered that. That's good. Okay, couple of veterans, AJ Brown and Terry McLaurin, are where are we at? Because I've got it.
Terry is probably a sell, just based on the age and the high variance style of which he plays, and it's just like touchdown dependent. I don't really like having those guys, but he's also kind of hard to sell because people aren't willing to give up a first for him.
That's right.
So it's, you know what I mean? It's kind of like you're between a rock and a hard place. Just keep him. I would say he's probably a hold then in that case, unless you can get a first.
What about AJ Brown? Are you nervous for this season? Like,
I'm a little nervous. I still think like he had like a 30% target rate in this last game. It just didn't really work out. It's a good defense. Those teams play each other really tough. I would say I'm a little nervous, but that's just the kind of world you live in with AJ Brown, where you're going to have some feast or famine with him, because of the style of offense they play and the amount that they run. Yeah. So it's just kind of like, he has the name value where you could probably get a pretty good chunk for him in terms of picks or another player. Don't try and sell him right now, though.
I know. You do need to wait for him to make a big, giant, awesome play. But yeah, I'm with you, man. In 2 games, he's run 60 routes. I mean, like I said, I think, 30 routes a game for him, like even if he does get, 25% target share or whatever, like, it's just, there's just not enough passing going on in that offense. And there's going to be times where they're, winning. They're a good team. I'm very, very frightened for this team because even in the sort of quote unquote negative game script, it's still, they still like to run the ball. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
it's part of their identity.
Still escape and scramble. Like there's just so few pass attempts. He's awesome. We were doing the off-season shows. Do you know how many players on Philadelphia had 100 targets last year?
None. I mean, they had the second fewest pass attempts or pass rate or whatever. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was bleak in terms of
Devontae and AJ both ended up in the 90s. So like, it's like, wow. Like,
that's not even like a very high bar either.
Right.
Like 100 is bare minimum what you're looking for. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It's just that to me, that's like, I mean, I know that they missed a couple games, but it's a little bit of a flood set, but still the point of the matter is like, that's not good. He's at 9 targets. He's got 35 receiving yards.
If you look, I don't know if you've seen Jalen Hurts' passing chart this year. It is ugly. It is really bad. I think he had, somebody sent it to me the other day or yesterday after the game. And I think it was 3 passes over 10 yards. Three completions over 10 yards.
There it is. Yeah.
Everything is in the flats and
Yeah.
under 10 yards. That is
Yep.
his passing chart.
Yep.
So far.
And then the big shot to win it, like to Devontae. It was like so cool. But
and then
you're right.
even that one he left really short, and Devontae just made a good play.
Devontae made a play. That's true.
But it's been really bad so far.
Yeah.
But again, like I think it'll get better. And AJ Brown has a
really
strong history of production, so I don't think it's like time to panic. But this is the reality of the world you live in when you have AJ Brown on your team. It's going to be kind of frustrating. And so he's like actually not a guy I have a ton of. I have him in like 2 leagues.
I'd been selling off as much as I could, and maybe some of them were mistake sells. I don't really know. I just was trying to use the value that he currently has. I was unable to sell for picks straight up in any spot. It's just sort of using his value that people look at and go, okay, AJ Brown, I give up a good play. Like they just sort of, you know what I mean? They value him as a first rounder in a trade, but they're not going to necessarily pay a first rounder to get him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Like theoretical value is a first. Actual value, people kind of like balk at that, I think.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is if players are going back and forth, the mind values AJ Brown properly. If I'm buying for picks, it's like, I don't want to spend picks on AJ Brown. You know what I mean? So I was using trades where there weren't really many picks. It was more of a, this stuff for that stuff, but my stuff is including AJ Brown going away. And that's, like I think I got Jackson Dart for him, Jackson Dart and Sutton basically for him. I think I threw in Krosky Merritt, whatever. I mean, come on,
that tracks.
That type of trade. Now Sutton's starting to scare me. I should have gotten Franklin instead.
Right.
Okay, it's all right. We all make mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, we already did TJ Hawkinson. Mark Andrews is an absolute trouble. Is Isaiah Pacheco absolutely dead?
God, it sure feels like it.
Yeah, right.
He was actually, I would say, one of my bigger misses this year in redraft because I was kind of excited about what he could bring. I thought the Chiefs offense was going to be higher functioning than it is right now. Right now, it's basically just Mahomes doing weird shit to make it happen. Obviously, once they get their receivers back, once they get Rashee Rice back, once Worthy is healthy, I think that will help a bunch.
Totally.
And it does help a lot that Josh Simmons looks like he's going to be pretty good at left tackle for them. So like maybe this is just an overreaction early in the season, but right now, so my thesis on Pacheco was he was hurt last year. He came back. They did a platoon at running back because he was still getting back to full health. By 2025, by this year, he's going to be fully healthy. He's going to be their bell cow again. He's going to get a lot of goal line looks. He's going to probably score a bunch of touchdowns. He's a good value where he's being taken. That is all gone out the window because it's a 3-man platoon and Kareem Hunt is getting all the valuable touches in the passing game and in the goal line. So you get Pacheco, like, I don't know what his numbers are right now, but he's rushing like 7 times for 17 yards.
Exactly.
In the middle of the field. You know what I mean? Like that is absolutely worthless. There's 150 guys you can pick on the waiver wire right now that probably score more points than him week in and week out. So he is an absolute redraft bust. And I don't know if there's light at the head of the tunnel here either, because he doesn't look good to me either. And you know what I mean? Like he just doesn't look anything special at back there running the football. So, he's probably the type of player you can drop at this point. Maybe that will look really bad in a couple weeks, but right now that's how it feels.
Yeah,
and unfortunately I took him in a couple weeks. So
yeah. I don't know what the hell you do with him in Dynasty. I remember it was when he hurt himself. I was trying to make a trade. Thank God, I've almost traded so many bad trades. Well, 2 now specifically with JJ Zacharyson that I somehow avoided. This one was I was going to buy Isaiah Pacheco. I don't remember what I was going to give up, but it was definitely something better than Pacheco. And I hit up Adam Hutchinson, who was formerly of the Undroppables. He's one of the best medical guys out there.
Yeah.
And so he texted me. He goes, actually, this foot thing. He goes, they don't recover from this very well.
Oh,
I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, it's not exactly a good one especially for a running back. He goes, it's possible he comes back. He goes, but this stuff can be a little bit troublesome,
tricky. That's the type of thing. Having that knowledge is a huge edge because I think most people are just like, oh yeah, he's fine. It's been a year.
This
You
was
know?
a year ago, like
Yeah, yeah.
right after he got hurt. I was like, what a time to maybe go in on him, because it's, whatever the case, like, philosophically that type of player would fit what I was trying to do, and I was like, I could then get Pacheco maybe toward the end of the season, and I was like telling him all my plans. He was like, I don't think so. I
Yeah.
was like, and it turned
That's
out to
fair.
be right medically, but maybe he's fine medically. But even now, he's more of a first and second down grinder without the pass game work, and they're not running the football very effectively. I mean, Pat
No.
Mahomes is their best running back. So yeah, I think it may be Jover for him. The other player we're going to talk about is Caleb Johnson.
Yikes. Yeah. This one's hard.
I'm
Yeah.
preaching patience on Travion, right? And I feel like we should probably do the same for RJ Harvey and Caleb Johnson. But I think all three of these guys are different test subjects because of various inputs, including their ages, where they were drafted, the teams they're on, et cetera, their utilization. What are your thoughts about Caleb? And maybe you can mention RJ Harvey as it pertains to Travion too, but start with Caleb.
Yeah, I think I really liked Caleb Johnson specifically in like a wide zone running game. So I think like him landing with the Steelers makes a lot of sense. I think there is still potential there and still has some upside. But I think it doesn't help that they just extended Jaylen Warren. It doesn't help that they don't trust him at all right now, and probably for good reason. I mean, if you saw the game on Sunday, he didn't field a kickoff that went into the end zone and turned into a touchdown for the Seahawks. So a huge mental error in that game. So that's probably not going to like win him any more snaps in the short term. He's the type of guy I drafted him in a few leagues this offseason, and I'm just holding on to him. I wouldn't panic sell him yet.
Right.
I still think he has some upside as a rusher. I thought in the preseason, like he flashed to me a couple times in terms of like, getting out wide, picking his lane, and getting downfield. Like I do think he has a good feel for the zone running game, and his value doesn't show up in like his pure raw athleticism or speed. It's like he's one of those zone runners that is just good at picking the lane and getting through it. So I'm a hold, and I'm cautiously optimistic, but right now, obviously, he's unplayable. Don't put him in your lineup until
obviously
probably not till next year. Honestly, we're
all
probably
right,
just going to have to sit on him.
So let's do this. Like during the rookie drafts, he was a late first, and then in the second round were a couple running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Those running backs, Cam Scatabo and Bashal Tutin, oftentimes.
Yeah.
Obviously, if someone sent you erroneously, they would never do this. But if they sent you Bashal Tutin straight up for Caleb Johnson, you would immediately smash that button as hard as you could, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think by the end of the summer, I was a little bit higher on Tutin than Johnson anyway. Yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I mean, they were in that sort of same range. I don't know for sure. I think I would with Scatabo too. Right now, it's looking like he's going to be the starter. And so, like with running backs, I mean, there are some running backs that just like never get an opportunity. So you kind of have to like, strike when the iron's hot for some guys. And like Tutin looks like he's getting an opportunity. He's a super explosive player. They traded away Tank Bigsby, in theoretically, because they like Tutin. So there's a lot of signs there that they like him. And then with Johnson, there's just a world in which he just turns into, like Kendre Miller, just like never really gets a chance. And
I can remember Scott Connor. You're in a couple leagues with Scott, very, very brilliant dynasty mind. And Scott Connor, around this time in Kendre Miller's rookie year, said, I would send Kendre, because Kendre was a very similar draft spot, end of the first round. He said, I would send Kendre for any future second right now. And I pushed back. I was like, fuck you. Kendre is going to be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, Kendre is a good player. Why would you just do that? Give up on it. And I was wrong. That was incorrect. Incorrect take. Me, L, Scott Connor, W. That's okay. Because the beautiful thing about that is instead of arguing like a moron, I actually learned. And I said, hey, I think that's probably some really good process right there. And I'm thinking that that's the type of process I would employ for Caleb. I think I would, if I owned Caleb, and I will be doing this before this airs, I will be sending an offer Caleb for just 2 random seconds to every team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good sell. I think it's something that you might be able to get from someone who's like, oh, yeah, I fucking like Caleb. 2 seconds? Fuck yeah, he was a first-round pick. Blah, blah, blah. They talk themselves into it, and they just do it. And maybe they counter with a second and a third, and you can snap it. Maybe they counter with a second, and maybe that's the one you want. Maybe it's like, fine, I'll take it. Maybe everybody tells you to go F yourself. Those are the options right there. But I
Yeah.
think that's a play I would make. So when we talk about sell, hold, I like to just talk through it, and maybe there is a sell there. Some people would
You
say,
might be able to. I mean, some people might even sell them for 1 second.
right.
You know, just to
I
try
don't
and
think I
get
want
out.
to buy them for a second.
Yeah,
Do you?
I wouldn't right now. No, I
No.
wouldn't be buying. I
Yeah.
was already a little bit like he's the type of running back where if it hits, it's awesome, but there's a
Hmm.
lot of scenarios where it won't, and
Bingo.
he's probably not going to be super high involved in the passing game.
He's starting to flirt with all those scenarios that he's not
Yeah.
awesome.
Kendre Miller is the one that came to mind, but there's like a million
Good one.
examples of guys like this that you really like their running style and they're like big, physical, downhill, whatever, got good explosiveness, but just the league kind of they're replaceable. You know what I
It's
mean
the
in the league.
perfect analog, by the
Yeah,
way. It's the exact right answer because I literally remember Scott Connor, same thing, same time, once you start seeing bad data points, I think we're seeing bad data points with Caleb Johnson. I don't think we're seeing that with Cam Scatabo, with Bashal Tutin, obviously. Let's talk about Bashal Tutin, eh?
yeah. He looks
Wow.
awesome. He
Looks
looks
awesome.
explosive. Shot out of a cannon. He was one of my favorite guys in the draft, running backs in this draft, in terms of just like watching him play, the explosiveness and acceleration that he brings to the field. We saw that on the he had a screenplay for a touchdown in this last game,
Yes.
and that I think the explosion and acceleration that he brings are really what makes him potentially like special. And so, obviously, Trevor Etienne is playing really well right now. Not Travis.
Yeah.
But he's also had injury
Yeah.
issues in the past. So there's like there's a path to major volume for Bishal Tootin. So I really like Tootin. I have stashed in probably like 10 leagues.
I think they're but I think they're a great 1-2 punch anyway. Like,
Yeah,
you
totally.
know, with Tank Bigsby out of the way and just those two guys doing it, like you can basically start them both because they're both involved in the pass game. I mean,
Hmm.
Trevor had like 3 touchdowns and they were all to like not wide receivers. It was like two or three to running backs and a tight end or something. Like it was
I mean, think
so
about how involved last year, and I know this is a little bit lazy because people always make this, but with Liam Cohen last year,
yes.
he had 2 running backs, I think, in the top 24. Rashad White quietly was, I want to say, a
Yes.
top 24 running back
Very
in
close if he wasn't.
PPR.
I agree.
Just because he was so involved in the passing game. I don't even think Rashad White is a good running back.
Yeah.
Now, he's not good at running. He's good in the passing game.
Yeah.
But I mean, that I think tells you about the usage of the running backs in this offense and how Liam Cohen looks at the position and how it can be an extension of the passing game. And screenplay can be an extension of the run game, I should say. And so, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if these guys both become usable by the end of the year,
Yeah.
maybe even like by a couple of weeks from now.
I agree. Maybe even this past week.
Yeah.
They were
You could have started both of them
You
this
could
last
have
week.
started
It's
both
very
of
true.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're ready to launch. Okay, so we're gonna finish off here. By the way, thank you so much. We're nearing the end of the program. I thank you so much for coming on.
Of
By the
course.
way, I'm pretty sure everybody knows where you're at, who you
Mm.
are. Like, you guys are huge. You guys are rocking. The Ringer is fantastic. I am a huge fan. You know that. But just for the 2 or 3 people listening right now who have no
Sure.
idea, tell them.
I co-host a podcast called The Ringer Fantasy Football Show. During the off season, it turns into the Ringer NFL Draft Show. So we cover fantasy football and we just cover the NFL. Really, we cover all things football during the regular season, but focus on fantasy football. And then in the off season, it's the Ringer NFL Draft Show. We do all the draft stuff. I put together a draft guide.
Yes.
During the season, we do our preseason rankings, and then during the season we do weekly rankings. So we got all that stuff up at the Ringer. You can find that at let's see here, fantasyfootball.theringer.com. And then we have a YouTube that we're trying to push out, so go check out the Ringer Fantasy Football Show YouTube, where you can watch the videos and do all our breakouts and things like that. So that's the main gist, I think. Yeah
You do a great draft guide. I love it. It's
Thank you.
fantastic. I love the Ringer draft guides, sort of the way they look and how
Yeah.
slick they are, right?
Yeah.
So they're fun to they're very interactive and fun. You do an outstanding job with it.
Thank you.
As you know now, doing NFL draft guides, anybody who does NFL draft coverage is wrong about so much. It's
Yeah, yeah.
crazy. It's
100%.
so hard. Isn't it? It's crazy, actually.
Okay, if teams are wrong all the time, give me some fucking slack. That's all I'm saying.
No,
Yeah.
Slack. I mean, anybody who
I'm not
thinks
saying you. Yeah.
no,
yeah.
but like anybody in their right mind, it's so ridiculously impossible because there's so much there. And so ultimately, I always look at it like, I love your draft. I think it's fantastic because it actually bears that in mind. It's not so like you kind of talk about things like, what are the possibilities? I love it. It's great. So I just give you some pimp on that.
I appreciate
And
that.
by the way, I do love the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. I'm a bit of you know, a deep diver. You know, I'm a lunatic. We're crazy. The people listen to this show and everything. But actually, I love listening to your show because it gives me. You guys are so much fun. You guys are so much fun. You're funny together. You like each other. It shows through. It's a really, really outstanding show. So congratulations and thank you for being here.
I really
we're gonna finish. We're gonna finish with a couple quick things. Devon Achane. Everything in Miami is like, I mean,
falling apart.
Nuclear holocaust is like upon us.
The sky is falling. Yeah,
it's done. We're dead. But yet, Devon Achane, no matter what's going on around him, is going to be awesome.
He almost won that game for them too, man. He stepped out of bounds right there at the end. But yeah, he's an electric player. He was one of my favorite players. I was joking before the draft when Achane was coming out, Achane, that like I was staking way too much of my professional reputation on this fucking small little running back. He's like, I was like obsessed with him. I mentioned him probably more than any other player. And then when he landed with the Dolphins, I was just like, thank you so much. It's like the perfect fit.
Yes.
But he is, he's such an interesting and unique player, not unique, but rare type player. Because he is essentially their wide receiver 3 and running back 1. Right now, he's playing like 90 something % of the snaps, which maybe is not the best thing. Like, we got to worry about his injury, because he's a smaller player and everything, but and worry about the volume a little bit. But he's so efficient with his touches. He's such a good receiver. There's so many plays in the Dolphins offense, how they love to attack the middle of the field. There was one play in particular in this last game where he just ran like a little, whip route or the angle route over the middle of the field. And ton of room just opened up, and his explosiveness is second to none at the running back position. So, yeah, he's just a super fun player. He's even better than I thought as a receiver. There was talk of turning him into a slot receiver coming into the league because of his size. But he landed with a coach and a system that is willing to kind of, I think, utilize his skill set really well.
Yes.
So I love Achane. I'm a little worried about like the volume that he's getting right now.
Yeah.
Long term, or not long term, but like throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's
he's
funny
awesome.
because we had this conversation, like, even his first year, second year, there were a tale of two different years. One was super efficient on a good team. One was super volume pass dependent on a bad team.
Right.
And we're sort of having more of that second year again, but either one is lucrative. And
totally.
No matter,
I think he's like the running back 3 right now or something like that.
It's so lucrative.
Yeah.
So I really think, the injury stuff, look, we're always devastatedly awaiting our players to get injured, like all of them. Like, we're just always waiting for that. And clearly with him, you're just, come on, man, you're holding your breath with him. But, hey, it is what it is. I wanted to mention, first of all, Javonte Williams, is he back?
No, I was just going to say, actually, he is the the running back 3 on the year. Devon Achane's the running back 5, sorry. James Cook, running back 1, Christian McCaffrey, Javonte, Bijan, and Achane.
Wow.
Javonte Williams, do I think this will last? No.
Right.
Do I think he's a really great value that you could have gotten in drafts? Yes. Because he's the lead guy there. Miles Sanders, I don't think is going to overtake him. And they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. You know what I mean? And that's going to be really useful in the fantasy world. So I don't know if he's ever going to get back to what we thought he was going to be, but it is really nice and fun to see him kind of like, being productive. It's kind of like the J.K. Dobbins thing, like everything that we get with J.K. Dobbins now is just about like a cherry on top because I thought his career was over. That's kind of how I feel about Javonte Williams. Like, he's still in the league. He's still doing it. He's still a starter, even though he didn't turn out what we thought he was going to be when he was coming out of North Carolina. I thought he was going to be awesome. But he just had some horrific injuries. And so that just kind of, that's the luck of the draw. He just had bad luck with that. But it's cool to see him doing well. I don't know if he looks like electric, but he looks pretty good.
before I ask you about our last players, is there anything else that you wanted to mention? Anything you wanted to ask me? Anything at all? You can say no, but if there's anything, it's okay. I'm not going to be like, something you want to ask me, pal, but anything in the world that you're thinking that, hey, before I got to go, we should bring this up, or I should hear your opinion.
I don't know. Nothing comes to mind. Where are you on Caleb Williams? Are you a hold? Or are you selling?
I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Terrified. Terrified because I think at the end of the day with Caleb, he is insulated by that 101, being the first overall pick. But how long does that last, right? How long does that last? And under the microscope in Chicago, Joe Kuvatakis, Joe Quave, my partner on Underground, actually mentioned that he feels like if in a vacuum that maybe Bajent would actually be better at running this offense.
I know.
And
they did just re-sign him too to like a
that
big
actually,
contract.
when you say
big,
that, it's like, well, that actually kind of makes sense. Now that's ridiculous because obviously, as you pointed out earlier, and we also agreed to this, is that his talent is not even close to. I mean, he's a far superior talent, but in terms of running the offense and just being on time and getting what they need to get done,
Ben Johnson did everything with Jared Goff. Who is a good. I think he's a good player, but he's not the most talented quarterback you've ever seen in your life.
No. So there's a lot of look, they're 0-2, right?
Yeah.
0-2. It's just, when does I always say, like, if you're good in real life, you'll keep your job. If you're bad in real life, you'll lose your job. So sometimes we have bad in real life, good for fantasy. Anthony Richardson, classic example, but if you're good in real life, but not good for fantasy, at least you can keep your job. He's a little bit more Anthony. By the way, one of the funniest tweets was, wouldn't it be the best outcome ever is the fact that Caleb Williams is turning into Justin Fields or something like that, whatever. Is like, this is,
oh God. Yeah.
Chicago, right?
I think it's maybe this is even like too optimistic. I think like the best case scenario right now for if we're reassessing and recalibrating what we thought he was going to be and who we thought he was going to be, I think best case scenario that I can actually buy and believe right now is like a Kyler Murray type player, which some people say that's horrific. You don't want that. I think in fantasy he's still pretty useful, but I'm starting to kind of, that would be like the median outcome. I don't know, like if that's how you say it, but like the most likely outcome is probably he's going to end up, like a Kyler Murray type of player where he's really volatile. There's going to be some awesome plays. There's going to be some really terrible plays. He's, probably going to be considered throughout his career. I think right now, if I had to guess, he's going to be considered a guy that physically talented, exciting to watch at times, but not going to lead you to a Super Bowl type of player. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just think that also the Bears are more likely to move on from the Kyler Murray outcome than the Cardinals were to move off from the Kyler Murray outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like they won't re-sign him to a big contract. That's actually where that's where I started to be like, I don't know if they'll do that because they re-signed him to this huge contract. But like as a style of player,
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I actually agree with you. I just think that also the circumstances around the Chicago microscope, this whole thing is like, it's super pressure packed. Ben Johnson, like they totally think that whether this is right or wrong, Chicago fans, media, the infrastructure of Chicago feels like if they had a quarterback, they have a Super Bowl team. Like, this is the greatest team.
Yeah.
That may not be right. It may be right. I don't really know, but they feel like it. So because they feel like that,
so they're not going to like wait around for him to
you know what I mean? They're not going to be like, it's okay. We're 6-8. It's fine. Like, that's not how they're going to feel. They're going to be like, this guy sucks, So unless they're above 500 and threatening for a playoff spot, I think it's going to be like curtains.
Dude, all I can say, here's what I was thinking when you were talking about this. If Caleb Williams gets hurt this year and Bajent comes in and like runs the offense really effectively and like efficiently, I'm just like, this could get ugly. This could be a situation that gets ugly quickly because I could see a world in which Bajent runs the offense more effectively or like efficiently, even though he has so much lower of an upside, in my opinion. Yeah, I could that like now. I'm sure this is going to happen this year. Like, right? I'm like almost can guarantee this is what's going to happen this year, and there's going to be a huge controversy.
The Bill Simmons Ewing theory.
Yeah, what's his name? Yeah, that's. I mean, that is the. It's what? God damn it!
He gets hurt. He's out, and the team gets
sorry,
better. Wally Pipp?
Lombardi. I was like
Yeah,
blanking on his
Lombardi.
name.
Yeah.
Lombardi used to say this. You're one injury away from having a good team or
One
whatever.
injury away from having a good team.
Yeah,
Yes,
like an
that's
old
exactly right.
axiom, like football
Yes.
axiom. I'm like, man, God, if
That
this
would be
happens,
sick.
yeah, it's gonna be tough.
That would be tough, honestly, but it's possible. I mean, we lived through that in New England where we had Bledsoe, who was prolific, but not necessarily a winner. I mean, he wasn't a
Mhm.
loser, but he wasn't necessarily. And then we didn't know it. We just were one injury away from a dynasty. It's crazy how it
Totally,
works. So
it's
yeah,
wild.
Tyson Bagent equals Tom Brady
Tom
for
Brady,
sure.
you heard
For
it here
sure.
first.
Well, I think we found a show title:
Yeah,
Tyson Bagent, Tom Brady, something like that.
my buddy texts me. He trolls me all the time about this because he knew that I liked Caleb Williams, like coming out of the draft, and he's like he sends me all these like quotes from coaches and quotes from different stories about Caleb Williams, and he just hashtags it with Bajent boys. He's like,
Oof.
he's all about Bajent right now. He's like, why is Bajent not starting?
I mean, we might see it. We might
Yeah,
see it. It's crazy.
don't get hurt, Caleb, or else I'd be starting to get worried. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we should go out on that, but I still want to ask you about Ken Walker.
Oh yeah.
I want to ask about Ken Walker, and then we'll go. So Ken Walker, to me, I think this is a split backfield. It has been a split backfield 2 times in a row. One time where Charbonnet was better than Walker, and this time that Walker was better than Sharbs. But
Yeah.
it's been split. It's just a split backfield.
Yes.
I mean, is there more to it than that? I mean, I do think that if there's going to be one that emerges, it's more likely to be Walker. Is that kind of how you read this?
That's how I feel. Coming into the year, I would say. So last year, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Walker like owned that backfield relative to what we're seeing this year. So I would say it's been a light surprise that Charbonnet is so involved. He's definitely getting. They're like alternating drives. Charbonnet is getting the third down work mostly and the goal line work mostly. And the 2-minute drill stuff. So Charbonnet, they trust more in the passing game and just I think in the little detail stuff of being in the 2-minute drill and things like that, like pass pro and all that. So yeah, I mean, this is yet another backfield where it's going to be more of a split than you want. So I would say expectations for Ken Walker are going to have to be lowered a little bit going forward, but I still think, in my opinion, he's vastly more talented and more explosive and more elusive than Charbonnet. It is just a question of when is that going to show up? Because like what we saw, I think it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster week in and week out. I still think Kenneth Walker is the better runner, but Charbonnet has that quality where he's get to A to B and just go downhill. Whereas Walker is going to be dancing around more, trying to make more things happen. And so, yeah, I would say this last week was a huge sigh of relief for Kenneth Walker drafters because we saw what he can do, even in a split backfield. I mean, there was a point in time when Charbonnet had 14 carries for 5 yards. He finished with 15 for 10.
Yeah.
But that was like garbage time, running out the clock, not garbage time, but like running out the clock late. He got like a 5-yard at the end of the game. So he was absolutely going nowhere in this last game. That was exactly what happened with Walker the game before. So it's just going to be kind of hard. I don't have a good answer for you. I think Kenneth Walker's better, but the Seahawks are going to play Charbonnet quite a bit, I think. So
there was some talk about Ken Walker having, the injury coming in, and that they were going to sort of slow walk him back in, which has kind of played itself out. I mean, through 2 games, they've basically been, rushing snaps. It's like 24-29. Walker with 24, Charbonnet with 29, but he's totally outperformed him. 5.4 yards per carry versus 2.1. Like 2.1 is awful and 5.4 is awesome. So far, like those differences are huge. Even the PFF running grade is 82.5 to 57.6. PFF isn't everything, but it's not like
in favor of Walker.
In favor of Walker, yeah. This is all in favor of Walker. Yards created 3.39 to 2.04. Missed tackles forced 4-3. But the big one for me too is like 10-yard runs 4-0. Like just 0 big plays. Like 10-yard runs. I mean, we're not talking about 10-yard runs. You can't get 10 yards on one rush and 30 tries. Like, that's
I
not
think,
very good.
That, and I think he had all of those. I mean, it was all of those in this last game.
For sure. Absolutely.
So he here's the deal. And I think this is where Seahawks fans, it's funny because Seahawks fans are totally split on this. Like, half people, it's like the Geno Smith thing. Half the fan base is really out on Kenneth Walker for some reason. And then there's there's the half that preaches at the altar or whatever, or like praise at the altar of Kenneth Walker, which is what I am. I just fucking love Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
Which, and I admit, like, I'm biased about it. I don't see everything so clearly because I love Kenneth Walker. I've loved him since college, and I just am admitting my bias. I think he's an explosive, awesome player. But I think the problem is he dances a bit too much. And I think there are some questions on whether he should just get north-south more often. And that is exactly the type of runner that Zach Charbonnet is, where he's just going to fucking plow ahead, try to run through someone's face mask and get 4 yards. You know what I mean? So I think half the fan base, not half, I don't know what the numbers are, but like,
I know what you mean.
A good chunk of the fan base that just wants Charbonnet to be the base of the offense, because he just gets north-south. But I would say that type of running back is not going to make a big difference for you. I think Kenneth Walker is going to make your offense really dynamic and create explosive plays and ultimately create more points.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that would disagree with me on that.
Yeah. Well, look, I would go a step further. The 4-0 10-yard runs, he's actually 15-yard run rate. He's got 3 15-yard runs. So, 3-0, obviously. And it's just been, and then you look at something to your point, which is the PFF run block grade, 62.3 for Charbonnet, 20 for Walker. Not good. He's not been good at pass blocking. Now, to that degree, though, this is crazy. You're going to love this one. Okay, hear this out. Charbonnet has run 24 routes. Walker, 16.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many targets Charbonnet has on his 24 routes?
I'm trying to remember any of them. 1? None?
0 is the number. Yeah. There's a reason you can't remember any of them because it didn't happen. He's 0 for 24. Like, that is really, really bad targets per route run. I'm quick math. Let me just carry the 0. It's 0.
Right.
Right. And 4 for 16 is pretty good. 25% is really good. So look, insofar as if they're going to be putting Kenneth Walker in for pass down, he has to be going out for the pass. Don't let him block anybody. But dude, even in that regard, he's been better. So, the only thing that really Charbonnet has done better than Ken Walker thus far is block in the pass game. So let's,
and that's why they trust him in the 2-minute drill. That's why he's getting some of those valuable snaps. I don't know. I'm kind of the opinion that it'll all even out kind of as the year goes on. Kenneth Walker will end up being the RB1 in the offense, even though Charbonnet plays a lot.
Yeah.
And Charbonnet might have some standalone value because he's going to get some goal line looks. He is a tough, strong inside runner. I like Charbonnet. I think it's funny. It's the Kenneth Walker versus Charbonnet like discourse has kind of made me anti-Charbonnet, even though I like him and think he's a good player. You know what I mean? Because I just like Kenneth Walker's style. That type of running back is always going to be exciting to me. The people, and I like him even before he was picked by the Seahawks. So like, it's not a Seahawks thing necessarily.
Agree.
It's just I fucking love. He's so fun to watch.
Yes.
And so I just want him to. I want him to do well, and I want him to play. But I understand the opposite side of it, which is success rate and just getting downfield and staying on schedule and all that stuff. I understand that point of view. And he's been hurt a lot, so that's frustrating for.
But I'll still take the big plays. I mean,
dude, he had a couple runs against the Steelers where I was like, I don't understand how you cannot like Kenneth Walker. I truly can't comprehend if you don't like Kenneth Walker. It doesn't make any sense.
If you get 3 yards instead of 1 because you're really wily, that's fine. Good for you. But if I get 22 because I'm dope and you get 7 on that same play, it's like, I'll take the 22, bro. Like, I'm making bigger plays at bigger moments. And, I think that's what he was. He was that at Michigan State. I mean, he was running all over fools.
God. His Michigan State tape is like
so fun. Yeah, so fun. And he's proven to be a pretty good pass game weapon in his
opportunities.
Exactly. Not necessarily pass blocking. So I think that's what you got to do is you got to just I think they're going to go to a 60-40 at some point. Once Ken Walker's there. Look, if he stays healthy again, everything.
Again, he has to stay healthy.
Caveat, if he stays healthy.
I mean, I still think that you got to hang on to Charbonnet even after this terrible game this last week where he had like 1 point. But because Charbonnet is still going to be a big part of this offense.
You rejected a trade that I sent for your Ken Walker, if you remember.
I know. Well, you know how I am. I'm big time biased. He's like one of my favorite players.
I think it was a very savvy offer, don't you? 2 seconds.
It was very fair. I didn't like scoff at it. I was just like, no, I want to hang on to him.
Do you think a lot of people would have succumbed to 2 seconds for Ken Walker after being awful in week 1 and everybody, right?
Yeah, a lot of people would have accepted that.
Yeah,
but I'm
wanted you to. But you're also from Seattle and you love him. It sucked. I wish someone else had him in that moment. I think I could have stolen him.
I also just I'm one of those people that I believe in his talent, and I thought it would have been selling at a low point, and I don't want to do that. Like now, I could sell him for a first after this last week, right?
Not to me. I'm not paying it. Damn it.
Yeah. No. Now you're like, fuck you.
Yes. No. That was great.
Like I personally just when I believe in a player, I try not to sell them at a low point. Yeah.
I thought, I didn't think he was worth a first, even if if he's dope, obviously is, but sort of the glass half full manager would have been like, well, he's not worth a first. I'm not going to let him go for a second, but 2 seconds, that was the theory behind the offer, right?
I mean, you could make the argument. We could talk in 6 months, and I could probably be like, man, I wish I would have taken that trade.
Yeah. Who knows?
But right now, I don't want to.
We'll see. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, buddy. You're amazing. Thanks for taking so much time with me and with our listeners and on this show. I know you're super busy, and I'm grateful for the time that we get to spend. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Again, it's always fun to chat it up with you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. On behalf of everybody here at the Undroppables, on behalf of everybody here at the Undrafted, on behalf of the greatest podcast producer whose Philadelphia Eagles are rolling at 2-0, Mr. Michael P. Duncan, you have been joined by the great Danny Kelly, DK. I am Jax Falcone, and we are